Many people have heard of trolls, either through pop culture or fairy tales. But did you know, troll lore actually shares a surprising amount of crossover to Sasquatch legends? There is a small town here in Washington state where the Norwegian immigrants claim to experience trolls inhabiting the forest. If you like this video, you may want to hear the original version of this tale featured in the book series called Northwest Mythology. These books are available to purchase on our website, linked in the description. Also, please make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I call this tale Forest Spirits from the Old Country. Towards the end of the Kitsap Peninsula is the little town known as Polsbo. Norwegian immigrants in the late 1880s officially settled this town. They were attracted to the area because it reminded them of the fjords and the mountains of their home country. They also chose to settle in the bay because the large amounts of dogfish that were present. In fact, Liberty Bay used to be called Dogfish Bay. They would use the oil of the dogfish as lamp oil. The smell of the oil, though, was said to be horrendous. Although that is the official story of the town founding, local legends abound with alternative versions. Scandinavian residents in the area tell a different tale about how the town was discovered, and claim relics in the town's waterfront park actually tell the story. Liberty Bay Waterfront Park has 3 unique features, each one holding a piece that, when put together, paints the full picture of this epic saga. This first special feature is a statue of a Viking on the north side. The Viking is said to be none other than Leif Erikson, or another descendant of a settlement he set up in the area. On one of his many trips to North America, it is said that he reached the west coast and set up a colony in what is now known as modern-day Polsbo. The route they took was told to go through the Arctic Circle. The legend of this voyage led many future expeditions to seek a Northwest Passage route. In the late 1800s, when the settlers were looking for a place to colonize, they chose this spot because they already had knowledge of this community from their ancestors. When they arrived, they encountered their distant kinsmen who had been living in the region for several hundred years already. The Viking in the statue looks rather primitive, more so than what we think about when we envision traditional Vikings. The Viking is wearing furs and not wearing standard Scandinavian garb. Usually, they would wear wool garments and metal armor. The Vikings in the area were said to have intermarried with the local tribes and were getting along quite well. This could explain why the local tribes lived in longhouses very similar to those in Scandinavia. They also had some very similar cultural practices. For instance, local tribes had warrior fraternities dedicated to animals. This is similar to that of invoking either a bear or wolf spirit before a battle, like what many Vikings practice. They called these warriors berserkers. Potlatches is another excellent example. Both local tribes and Viking-age Scandinavian chiefs would call their warriors to attend these massive feasts. And both cultures would give gifts and swear oaths of fealty. This tradition would hopefully secure allies. In both cultures, all types of games and feats would be performed at these events. The natives and Scandinavians loved to participate in contests of strength, wrestling, and combat sports at these events. They would also tell stories and local legends during these events. Many of their legends share a striking similarity. Marriages would also be set up between the visiting tribes and groups in both cultures. When George Vancouver, a British explorer, first came to the region, he commented on how the local indigenous people shared many similarities to the Vikings. This included their love of the ocean and tendencies to have significant sea battles and hit-and-run raids. Getting back to the park, the next feature is a giant boulder located on the other end from where this Viking statue is. Scandinavians have a belief that when a large boulder is in a strange place, it is from one of 2 things. The boulder is very strange as it is quite large, at least the size of a large pickup truck. In addition, it was not made from the same type of rocks that make up the rest of the shoreline. One of the 2 possible solutions is that the sunrise caught a troll in the sun. This is an old legend that when a troll doesn't make it into its cave in time, then the sun hits their skin and they immediately turn to stone. It's actually very interesting, as Sasquatch are also believed to be mostly nocturnal. although they're not known to turn to stone if exposed to the sun. Looking for troll faces and random boulders is a favorite pastime for many people that know of this legend. The other explanation for these misplaced rocks is that a troll was having a battle. Their favorite weapon are giant stones, and they use them as projectiles at their enemies. Anyone familiar with Sasquatch will recall them using stones as projectiles to scare people from an area. Troll lore has many more crossover beliefs with Sasquatch. Trolls are giant monsters that come from spirit or other realms but stay in our domain, and this is strikingly similar to what many native tribes view Sasquatch. Creatures that know how can travel between the realms like trolls and Sasquatch, but unlike Sasquatch, trolls are said to not easily be able to travel back to their realm. Fortunately for them, they do have several powers that they use to their advantage here in our realm. Trolls are said to be exceptionally long-lived and supernaturally stealthy and robust, which again is shockingly similar to how Sasquatches are described in lore and by eyewitnesses. They seem to appear out of nowhere and blend in so well that it's as if they have disappeared. Further similarities arise when you look at their chosen abodes. They both live in caves and sacred forest groves and want to see them protected. They are even said to look similar. Both cryptids are said to be covered in fur and are very big and muscular. Trolls usually have a tail and large nose, while Sasquatch is said to look more like a wild human or ape person. This is similar to how other primates appear closely related on different continents. While they have tails in some places, they do not have them in others. Finally, trolls and Sasquatches are both said to be very tricky and potentially dangerous for interloping humans. By now, you're probably wondering where this story is going. The legend of the town is that these early Vikings that lived for hundreds of years in the Poulsbo area had several battles with trolls and many local native tribes acting as allies. The final battle the Vikings had with the trolls and indigenous tribes was said to have happened on the spot where the park is located. The rock is either the king troll that was turned to stone when he lost track of time battling, or a giant boulder that the trolls were using to try to kill the Vikings. The trolls were said to have navigated to the area because they followed the wood they used to build the Viking ships. And they were upset that the boats were made from some of their sacred wood and traveled there to seek revenge. Some stories say the trolls were stowaways. This would really not be necessary though. If the trolls had a strong enough connection to the wood, they would be able to follow it through to the spirit realm with no problem. It would act as a beacon, shining for them to follow like a lighthouse. Another legend has it that the trolls were local and attacking the Viking settlers for cutting down their sacred trees that they had been protecting for thousands of years. Maybe in this version it was mistaken identity and these were actually Sasquatch. No matter which tale you believe, all legends do agree that an epic battle between the Viking, local tribes, and trolls took place on that very spot. The third feature commemorates the event. The final feature is a replica statue called Sword I Fell, which means swords in rock. And these are 3 big swords stuck in a rock in between the troll rock and the Viking statue. The original sculpture in Norway is to celebrate the first king of Norway and is much larger. The king won a battle against 2 other kings. They swore fealty to him and they all stuck their swords in the ground to show that they would never again raise their swords against each other. The 3 swords were said to represent the 3 kings. The one in the waterfront park also means peace between the parties that lived in the area. One sword represents the Viking, the second for the trolls, and the third is for the local native tribes. On that spot, they all agreed to have no more battles with each other. The statue was picked for the spot to mark where they had also decided to live in peace. Trolls are rarely seen in the area now. Even when the Native Americans were attacking the city of Seattle and the surrounding area, they left Poulsbo alone because of this ancient peace deal. In conclusion, there are lots of similarities between Sasquatch and troll lore. Not only that, but Native American culture and Viking culture share many striking resemblances. Did Vikings settle in the Poulsbo area hundreds of years before the written record? Right now, it would have to stay in the legend category. But there does seem to be slivers of truth in this legend. Vikings never stopped exploring. New horizons were what drove them. If you believe they stopped on the East Coast, then you truly do not understand Viking mentality. Vikings lived to explore. It was in their blood. They were also not the bloodthirsty savages that history has portrayed them to be. They intermingled with many cultures somewhat peacefully until their beliefs were so blurred that anthropologists could not tell where one stopped and one began. A few examples are in Ireland, Scotland, Russia, and France. The list goes on of proven historical examples. Could the tribes of the New World be an example that is not yet proven by historical records? You can be the judge on that one. With some digging, there are a lot of cultural similarities that would suggest that they had more than superficial contact. If you enjoyed what you heard today, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We upload new videos of the Strange and Supernatural weekly. If you want to support us, make sure to pick up a copy of one of the books where these stories come from. Make sure to check out our website, northwestmythology.com, linked in the description. If you love weird, strange, scary, epic stories, make sure you subscribe. We look forward to sharing many more. People often wonder, are Sasquatch and trolls the same thing? That is hard to say. They are certainly similar species, but they do have subtle differences. Further, trolls often get dismissed here in America as being fantasy, while Sasquatch is taken more seriously. There are several countries outside the United States where this view is reversed. Trolls are viewed as more fact than fiction in Scandinavia, Germany, England, and many other places, while Sasquatch is almost a cheap copy. Let me know what you think. Are Sasquatch and trolls the same thing? Are trolls just a fairy tale from the old world? Did Vikings make it to the West Coast and intermarry with local tribes? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.